Hello, my friends. I thought today I would address an issue that is of paramount importance. And I thought I'd read a little bit from the book of Secrets about the nature of evil, and then share with you some of my thoughts, because right now this is a big discussion. There's what we perceive as evil happening in Ukraine and many parts of the world. We think from our perspective that this is something that we have to fight. Evil, whether it's terrorists or warmongers or racists or people who are otherwise prejudiced, we can see, obviously, that there's a lot of injustice in the world. Social injustice, racial injustice, gender injustice, you name it. And of course, if we have the mission for collective desire for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world, then we need to understand the nature of evil, or what we call evil, as well. So in my view, and I've written about this in this book, evil is both the personal and the collective shadow. And I believe that the personal shadow is a result of the cultural or collective shadow at a particular moment in history. So Hitler is the product of a particular moment in history where the collective shadow emerged and localized in the form of a leader that we call evil. And this is true of all tyrants, in my opinion. So what is the shadow? The shadow is that part of ourselves that we are embarrassed about. It is that part of ourselves that we don't want other people to find out about. So do you have any secrets? I'm asking you. That if people found out those deepest secrets about you, would you feel guilty? Would you feel ashamed? Would you feel humiliated? If you can say, no, I don't have any secrets that I would feel guilty, ashamed, or embarrassed about, then you're either standing in the darkness. So wherever there is light, there is a shadow. And if the light is shining at you horizontally from a horizontal direction, east or west, then the shadow is very long. But if you're in darkness, there's no shadow. And if the light is directly above your head, there is no shadow either. Okay, so having no shadow and total darkness means no experience, period. Having no shadow, if the light is directly above your head, means you're one with the source. So given that, what is the way to handle evil? First of all, let's ask ourselves, what is the worst evil? The worst evil is to hurt someone physically or endanger their survival. The worst evil is to enslave people economically, depriving them of any chance to succeed and prosper. The worst evil is to destroy peace and bring about disorder. The worst evil is to entrap people's minds. The worst evil is to destroy beauty, creativity, and the freedom to explore. The worst evil is often difficult to tell from good, since all of creation is relative. If creation has infinite possibilities, then everything is relative. Light and shadow go together, just like good and evil go together. And then the solution to evil is to understand that only shifting the patterns of consciousness has an eternal chance to both solve the mystery or riddle of evil and also to understand that in the absolute, there's no evil, only the shifting patterns of consciousness in an eternal dance. So when does this collective shadow emerge? This collective shadow emerges when there are certain conditions that release shadow energies. These are as follows: removing a sense of responsibility, anonymity, dehumanizing environments, pure examples of bad behavior, passive bystanders, rigid levels of power, prevailing chaos and disorder, lack of meaning, implicit permission to do harm, and us versus them mentality, which is very prevalent right now with extreme polarization everywhere, isolation, and lack of accountability. The shadow that I'm talking about is personal and universal at the same time. Anything can be stored there. Whatever is stored in darkness becomes distorted. The intensity of shadow energies is a way of getting noticed. Bringing consciousness to any energy diffuses it. The shadow itself is not evil and therefore not your enemy. Okay, so how do we solve this? I think this is the most important thing. And it's not the most easy to tackle because we all have our opinions of what is good and evil. And we all think that the other is evil and we are good. So no matter how evil your impulse is, it can be broken down into steps to resolve it. Number one, darkness. Ask yourself, if it's really you having this impulse, the you whom you see in the mirror every morning. Darkness is dealt with by bringing in the light. Freud called this replacing id with ego, meaning that it, the unnamed thing inside us, needs to be gathered back into the realm of I, the person you know yourself to be. In simpler terms, awareness needs to go into the place where it has been shut out. Secrecy. Confide your evil impulse to someone you trust. Secrecy is dealt with by honestly facing things that seem shameful or guilty. You face any and every feeling head on without denial. Danger. Release your anger out aloud, staying with it as it decreases. Have the intention that this release is not merely venting, but truly letting go of your rage. Danger is dealt with by diffusing the bomb. That is, you find the explosive anger that lurks inside and you dispel it. Anger is the primary drive of evil impulses. And anger, by the way, is the memory of trauma. So every so-called evil person has been traumatized either in childhood or there might be intergenerational trauma. Like all impulses, it comes in varying degrees, and even a towering rage can be deflated until it diffuses into controlled rage, then justified anger, and on down to righteous indignation, and finally personal offense. Personal offense is not difficult to dispel once you manage to release the built-up intensity that turns into uncontrollable rage. Myth. Name a hero who would deal with your feelings in a different way and still remain heroic. Violence is part of heroism, but so are many other positive qualities. Myth is imaginative and creative. Therefore, you can take any myth and mold it along different lines. Satan himself becomes a comic figure in medieval miracle plays, a ploy that leads directly to the comic villains in James Bond films. Myth is nothing but metamorphosis. A shift in identity. Therefore, this level gives us a powerful way to turn demons into helpers of the gods or defeated enemies of the angels. Irrationality. Come up with the best argument for not acting on your rage. Don't do this emotionally. See yourself as an adult counselor of a wayward teenager about to ruin his life. What would you say to make him or her see reason. Irrationality is dealt with by persuasion and logic. Emotions are much more gripping and powerful than reason, but they will not be able to escape their world, where only feelings prevail until the thinking process gives them a reason to feel differently. On their own, without mind, feelings remain the same and grow more intense over time. A common example, imagine yourself engaged because a kid in a red baseball cap keyed up your car. So imagine yourself enraged because a kid in a red baseball cap keyed your car. He runs away and escapes. The next day you see him and run up, but when he turns around, it's a different kid. Rage turns into apology because the mind was able to introduce a simple idea. Wrong person. Primitiveness, without excuses or rationalizations, express your rage like a beast on a rampage, growing, howling, writhing, even letting your body go. Let what's primitive be primitive within safe bounds. Okay, I have a lot more to say about this, but the most important thing is bring awareness to your shadow impulses. Forgive your shadow, embrace your shadow, share your shadow, and don't be ashamed of your shadow. Okay. Maybe this is helpful. There's a Stanford study that I'm sure you know about, the Stanford experiment, where people given unlimited power turned evil, even though they were inherently good. Evil cannot be conquered by evil. Darkness cannot be dispelled by darkness, only by bringing in the light. If this is helpful, I can expand on it. Thank you very much. Take care.